I have 5 teams repeating as division champions, but I have 3 teams that I think are going to win the division this year, even though they didn't win it last year. What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Titans Rundown Friday series. I am your host, Micah McCamey, and in last video, I ranked every single NFL head coach. There was some controversy, but there was also a little bit of obvious ones. Like, of course I was going to put Andy Reid at number 1, but you probably didn't see me putting Sean Payton at 18 coming. So, anyway, in today's video, I am going to be telling you who I think is going to win each division. I don't think this one will be as long as the last one, because in the last one, I had 32 dudes to get through and talk about, and in this episode, I only have 8 teams to talk about and what their division competition is, and there are 2 of these that will take a maximum of like 2 or 3 minutes to stop talking about. So, anyway, let's get right on into it. Starting out, I have the AFC West. This list is going to go from the least obvious from the most obvious teams that will obviously win their division to the least obvious, at least in my opinion. So, let's get this started. Starting out with the AFC West. Come on now. I think we can all agree on this. It's obviously going to be the Raiders. Antonio Pierce is going to have that team rolling, and Gardner Minshew is going to look like a true MVP candidate. And I could see them making a Super Bowl run. Oh, wait, sorry. I forgot which team I was talking about. No, I have the Chiefs winning the division. Very obviously. Yeah, so basically replace everything I said about the Raiders, but with the Chiefs. Andy Reid is going to have the team rolling. Mahomes is probably going to be an MVP candidate once again. And overall, though, they could end up three-peating, and that pains me to say. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of controversy surrounding this team, with Rashee Rice, two offensive linemen getting charges and potentially being thrown in jail. Then we also have other things going on with them, so there's been a lot of controversy around this team. Heck, even somebody almost died during a practice and had a cardiac arrest, which was just absolutely insane. Shout out to the medical staff for making sure that he was able to come back and, be able to go back onto the field and play. So, anyway, the competition in this division is not that great either. Like, it's like the Chargers, who are probably going to be some competition within like the next year or 2, but I don't see them being competitive. I see them being competitive in games, but I don't see them competing for the division this year. Then we have the Raiders, which I'm a little bit higher on the Raiders than most people are because I think that the roster is pretty good, but I am not expecting them to compete with the division with the Chiefs. And the Broncos may be in the biggest rebuilding state that they could be in right now. Like, they are in a very bad place, and Bo Nix is probably going to struggle a little bit as a rookie. So, that's who I have winning the AFC West. I think that this one was obvious. Now let's move on. Hopefully the next one is less obvious. Oh, wait, never mind. It's the NFC West. Now, the difference between this division and the AFC West is that there are actual competitors in this division, but the team on top is just so good. Like, it's kind of unfair because most of these teams could end up winning other divisions. But, obviously, 49ers are probably going to end up winning this division. Look, all right, Brock Purdy is considered a potential game manager. I personally disagree with that, and I think that it's ludicrous to call him a game manager at this point. If he was a game manager, the 49ers would not have as much success as they have had now. Like, if Jimmy G was still the starter, they would probably be getting eliminated in the divisional or the NFC Championship. They would be falling short every single year. Now, obviously, could he have put in a better effort for them to win the Super Bowl? 100%. But that's still a very good football team. CMC may be the best running back in the NFL. As much as I still want to say my boy Derrick Henry, even though he left for the Ravens, which I hate, and the purple looks horrible on him, still best running back in the game. Defense is absolutely loaded, and they have some of the best skill position players, and they have the best left tackle potentially in NFL history. So yeah, 49ers I think are obvious. The competition for this division is a lot more is a lot more hot though, to say the least. Like, it's not like the AFC West where the Chiefs just kind of win by default. I could see another universe where the Niners end up losing this division, but I am 100% sure that they are. Like, the Rams could very well end up still being a great team and going like 11-6 with how hot they were at the end of last year and how they almost beat the Lions, who ended up going to the NFC Championship game. And the only reason that they didn't win it was because, I don't know, receivers just couldn't catch passes. But anyway, combine that with the fact that they still have Sean McVay. Their defense is not as great as it was because they lost potentially the greatest defensive player of all time, but they still ended up filling the hole somewhat decently. That team could end up shocking some people. Then the Seahawks, I like Mike Macdonald, and I think that team could very well end up shocking a lot of people as well. And I really like that defense. I'm a little questionable about Geno, but I think that with those three receivers that are just that good, and the O-line being at least okay, and the running backs probably going to be a little bit better this year, I think that team could still compete for the division. And then you have the Cardinals where, hold up, I could see an alternate universe where they could go, like, sneak into the wild card and be the biggest shocker of this season. But I am not expecting it. Not at all. All right, I'm sorry, Cardinals fans. I really like your head coach, but I think that y'all are 1 year away from being truly a great team again. So, anyway, moving on. This is whenever it gets a little spotty because the first two were so obvious that it was just ridiculous that I even had to question it. So, now let's move on. NFC South is who I have next. As long as Raheem Morris is an absolute idiot, I am very confident that the Atlanta Falcons will win this division. And I think that that's obvious. I think that the Atlanta Falcons are potentially one of the most talented rosters in the NFC. And I know how ridiculous that sounds. I know that a lot of people probably think I'm ridiculous for saying that. But the truth is that secondary has A.J. Terrell and Jesse Bates in it. And that defensive line has some solid contributors. Combine that with the fact that they actually have a competent quarterback in Kirk Cousins. Combine that with the fact that their weapons haven't been used properly. As long as Raheem Morris isn't as big of an idiot as Arthur Smith was, still love you, Art. All right, don't take that the wrong way. But with how incredibly dumb Arthur Smith was with the usage of his players, I could very easily see the Falcons winning this division. Now, I could see them flopping because of the coaching staff, don't get me wrong. So, if they do end up losing the division, I would probably see the Saints winning it. I think that Dennis Allen is not that great of a head coach, but, like, come on, Todd Bowles won the division last year. There's not that much to be said about being a bad coach. I could also see the Bucs winning the division. Speaking of Todd Bowles, Baker Mayfield I think will still be solid. I do think that losing his offensive coordinator will make a big difference, but I still think that team is going to be competitive at the very least. They still have a good receiver core, good offensive line, and a good defense. That team is still very talented. All right. Then after that, it's the Carolina Panthers. And I think that this team is going to be better than people expect. I could see them going like 6-11, 7-10. I think they're going to be like a frisky, young, competitive team that I think could end up shocking some teams and get en route to winning some games. And I think Bryce Young will have a bounce back year. I know that it was his rookie year, but still. All right, moving on, we have the AFC South. Oh, you have no idea. I wanted to pick the Titans so bad here. I wanted to shock the world and I wanted to tell everybody, hey, Will Levis, he's going to have a big season. That defense is going to prove everybody wrong, and that offensive line is going to get restructured after year one. But I can't pull myself to it. Give me the Texans to win this division.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
I know Titans fans are probably going to be a little upset with me for going behind my own team's back. But come on now. Let's be real. All right? The Texans may have the best roster in the AFC. I think that okay, maybe that was an over-exaggeration if I'm being completely honest. But they have a great quarterback who may still be developing for all we know. They have a great receiver core. Now, Diggs could very well end up throwing temper tantrums right at the tail end of the year if he's not getting enough targets. But they still have Nico Collins and Tank Dell, who, from what I can tell, aren't the biggest of divas. And that defense improved massively over this last offseason. Now, the offensive line is a little questionable, I'll give you that. But I just don't see a universe where this team doesn't at least have a winning record. Like, I can see a universe where all the other teams have a losing record, all right, in the AFC South. But I just don't see the Texans having that losing record, and that's why I have them winning the division. Now, let's talk about the other competitors. We have the Tennessee Titans. I think that we need a couple of more defensive pieces before we can truly compete with the Texans for the division. All right, I think the coaching staff is legit. I think Levis is going to be solid, but if we're going to win next year, we're going to win in some shootouts, all right? Not because of the defensive backs, but because there is like a big hole at edge on the defensive line. Combine that with the fact that our linebacker core, we may end up starting Jack Gibbons again. Like, I could very well see that defense being really bad. And if the offensive line is bad, that's not going to help matters whatsoever. So, obviously, the Titans, I think that they can get there, especially if everything is good, but I don't think they're there just yet, you know? So, let me move on. The Colts, I could see the Colts winning the division. If Anthony Richardson explodes like all of you are saying, like all of y'all have been talking about how he's guaranteed to have a breakout year, and he stays healthy and blows up, then yeah, I could see the Colts winning this division. But it's a big if on if Anthony Richardson can stay healthy. Bro's been injury prone since high school. And then there's the Jags. Now, Trevor Lawrence, if he has a big bounce back here, I could see them shocking the world and winning the division. But, like, I don't know. I think the receiver core took a little bit of a downgrade because I felt like that going from Calvin Ridley to Gabe Davis is a bit of a downgrade, if I'm being honest. And I'm not even trying to say that out of bias as a Titans fan, because like Gabe Davis is the most inconsistent player I have ever seen. So that defense is going to be pretty stout, though. So, I think that division is going to be a lot more competitive than people are expecting. But anyway, now we move on to the AFC East. Now, I know that there's a lot of controversy surrounding the fact that people don't think the Bills are going to be that good this year and how they're just going to be absolutely horrible, but I see completely different. Give me the Bills to win this division, all right? I think Sean McDermott is going to have this team ready and rolling, and I think that his defensive mind is going to keep this defense at least afloat. And Josh Allen is still one of the best quarterbacks in the game. I think Keon Coleman is going to be pretty dang good. He's very likable. Combine that with the fact that he was good in college, and he's a very solid ex-receiver. And honestly, just overall, I just have a hard time downing the Bills. Whenever you have one of the best quarterbacks in the game, I am not going to tell you that your team is not going to be good. And I think that, honestly, some of the locker room turmoil is just going to go away, and it's going to make the team better because of the fact that Diggs is gone. Now, obviously, the case is for the other teams in the division. The Miami Dolphins, I know that there are going to be some people really mad at me because I know how passionate the Dolphins fan base is. I think Mike McDaniel's a little overrated. Combine that with the fact that I don't think Tua is that insanely special. And I think that those two factors alone kind of make this team a little worse. Combine that with the fact that they lost potentially one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL, and Vic Fangio, to the Eagles. And I'm just saying, like, I just don't think this team is as good as people say it is in the offseason. They give them all this hype because they think their head coach is so quirky and fun, and Tua's a really likable guy, and I want to root for Tua. I really do. But I just don't see that team like getting to the next level in the next few years. Anyway, then you've got the Jets. The Jets are really weird because they could end up being like the best team in the AFC. Yes, I said that. If Aaron Rodgers plays like he did the year before he tore his Achilles, which honestly, it still wasn't even good in Aaron Rodgers standards, but it is better than whatever the heck Zach Wilson has been. That would be good enough to get them a 10-7 record. If he can go back to his MVP form, I'm not saying that he will, but if he does, they could end up winning the AFC straight up. But I just don't know, man. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is all the way in on this team, and Hassan Reddick has not been showing up, who could be a very valuable piece. So I'm a little worried about the Jets. But if Aaron Rodgers does go down, they have competent backups, so that's at least good. And all the way at the bottom of the division are the Patriots. I couldn't remember what team was at the bottom of the division. But, yeah, no, the Patriots, not a good football team. I'm sorry. I think they're going to show flashes this year, but overall, I just don't think they're going to be that good. Okay, I got to start speeding this up a little bit. NFC North, Detroit Lions. I love Dan Campbell. Brad Holmes has built an incredible roster. Ben Johnson is coming back. Both of their coordinators, who are really good, are coming back. Jared Goff has had a very inspirational comeback. Combine that with the fact that the receiver core is still at least halfway decent, especially with Amon-Ra St. Brown. They may have the best offensive line in the game, and Jahmyr Gibbs may be getting a heavier workload, and the defensive secondary improved big time. All of those things combine, and I think that this team is going to win this division. I almost thought about making them one of the more predictable ones, but just because of the team that I think will come in second place, that's the Packers, who I am really high on. I didn't make them as obvious because the Packers, like, if Jordan Love plays at the level that he did at the end of last season, that team is going to be a problem. That team is going to be truly amazing. Matt LaFleur is a good head coach. All right, I know that a lot of people want to deny that, but he's gotten the monkey off of his back where he was where everybody was just like, oh, what if it's because of Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams and just having a really talented roster? Well, he had Jordan Love and a bunch of receiver twos, and they won a playoff game and almost beat the Niners. So, like, I don't know. To me, at least, I think that he's a good head coach. The defense is going to be majorly improved because they fired Joe Barry, so that's always, very good to see. Yeah, overall, that team is just going to be a problem in that division and could potentially win it. Then you got the Vikings and the Bears. I'm bundling them up into two. I think that Caleb Williams will have some growing pains, and I think it'll hold them back from winning the division. I could very well see them sneaking in as like a 7-seed wild card, but nothing too monumental. And the Vikings, if they start Sam Darnold all year next year, I have no confidence in that team. If they start J.J. McCarthy halfway through, I think that this team will be fine. But overall, I think that they would be like a 7-10, maybe 8-9 team. Just very mediocre, kind of like how they were in the Zimmer days. But I still have confidence that they will be very competitive the year after. All right. Now, we move on to the Philadelphia Eagles. I have them winning the NFC East. I was trying to make a big reveal out of it. But, like, this has to do with the fact that they've majorly improved. Jalen Hurts finally has a good offensive coordinator for the first time since he had Shane Steichen a few years ago. The receiver core is still great. Offensive line is still good, even though Jason Kelce has retired. And yeah, overall, this team is still just as good as it was 2 years ago. And the defense is also going to be majorly improved because the young guys are going to have some experience under their belts, and they are going to be ready to wheel and deal. All right? So it's that, but combine that with the fact that the NFC East has not had a division winner 2 years in a row, and I genuinely believe that this team is going to be I think that this team is going to win this division. Now, the Cowboys are an interesting case as well because Mike McCarthy, I don't know. I don't think he's that great of a head coach, as you can tell by my head coaching rankings. Defense is not going to be as good. Offensive line is not going to be as good. Combine that with the fact that that Dak Prescott is still going to be looking for a contract, and he may not play as motivated. And I just don't think that this Cowboys team is going to be as good as it was this last year or the year before that. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to completely miss the playoffs, go 7-10 or something like that. But I could see them only going like 10-7 or 11-6, which is not as good as it had been the past few years. So now we move on to the Commanders and the Giants. I'm just bundling them into one because I have no faith that either of those guys are going to win the division. I could see the Giants being shocking. Apart from that, like Daniel Jones, is not that great. And Jaden Daniels is a rookie and he's going to make rookie mistakes. I could see the Commanders being competitive, though, in the next few years. So now we move on to the last team in the AFC North. This division was tough. Like, I didn't know who to pick here. The Ravens have that insane running attack. The Bengals are truly an incredible passing unit. The Steelers have that amazing play-action passing game now because they have Arthur Smith. Yes, I still think he's a good offensive coordinator. And then there's the Browns, who have one of the best defensive units in all of football. And depending on if Deshaun Watson can come back into true form, that offense could also be very good. So, what is my prediction for this? I think that Joe Burrow is going to play lights out next season, and I think the Bengals are going to win this division. I think Joe Burrow is going to be mad that everybody has forgotten about the Bengals. He thinks that this entire roster is going to go downhill, and he's going to be throwing dimes all season. I think the Bengals, this is probably my hot take out of this because I know that people think it's going to be the Ravens, but I think the Bengals are going to shock the world, win this division, and I think that this team could get back to its former glory, and Joe Burrow can refill his crown as the Patrick Mahomes killer. All right, now we obviously got to talk about the other teams in this division, all right? Like the Ravens. Yeah, the Ravens are going to make the playoffs. The Ravens are going to be a good team. No questions about their coaching staff. Their offense is going to be incredible, especially since they added Derrick Henry. And their offensive line is good, and their receivers are young and fresh and fun. And that defense is going to be as good as it was last year, even with the loss of Mike McDonald, who I still really like. So then there's also the Steelers, who I think are going to shock some people. And I think they're going to have that 7-seed playoff berth like they always have. I still think they're going to get beat by whoever the 2 seed is. But, happy thoughts. Happy thoughts, right? Okay. So, that's a team that is probably going to be better than people are expecting. Then there's also the Browns, and I like the Browns. I really do, at least most of the team. But I just don't think Deshaun Watson is going to return to his former glory, and I don't think the defense is going to be as ridiculously good as it was last year. So, with all that being said, here's a rundown of every single team that I have winning the division. I have the Chiefs, Niners, Falcons, Texans, Bills, Lions, Eagles, and Bengals. And that is the video. I have 3 new division winners with the Eagles, the Falcons, and the Bengals. And then the rest of the 5 were the division winners from last year. Chiefs, Niners, Texans, Lions, and Bills. Anyway, what are y'all's thoughts on the divisions, and who do you think is going to win each division? Let me know down in the comment section below. But anyway, that's going to do it all for me. This has been a rundown of every single division in the NFL. I love y'all, and tighten up.